Hey y'all, welcome back. I'm Shayna Cersei and I'm so excited to paint with you today. So today we're going to do another page in our watercolor journal books and we are doing some summer fruit. We're going to do watermelon today, of course, the quintessential summer fruit. So let's get right into it. So I'm going to draw out a simple watermelon shape and we're going to start. Maybe I'm going to go this way. And we're going to start by just drawing a lovely rounded triangle. So triangle with a rounded bottom here, just like that. And then I'm going to draw angled downward, and then this line and this line are going to match each other, be parallel to each other. And now you can see I have this space to draw the bottom of the rind. So nice little juicy watermelon piece. Doesn't have to be more complicated than that. And then if you wanted to draw another one, let's say we wanted to draw another one that overlaps with this one. It's a little thinner, and this one is going to be facing the other direction. Oop, I have to turn my page a little bit. And your lines do not have to be perfectly straight because, as you know, watermelon is a very organic thing. So if they're a little wavy wobbly, it actually probably is better. And then, so you can tell this piece is thinner than that piece, but those are watermelon pieces. So let's give it some seeds. Give this one 4. Actually, that's a little high. Oh, the other thing is, of course, our rind has some thickness to it as well. So we need another layer of the rind here. It's going to be a little bit more, we're going to erase those lines a lot because it's going to be much whiter, like a really light color for the rind. But let's move this seed up. It's too low, I think. Okay. There we go. So we have our 2 little watermelon pieces. And we are going to lighten these lines up at the bottom quite a bit. Actually, the whole thing. So if you have a kneaded eraser, I highly recommend. If you don't have one, I still highly recommend that you get one. So this will be fun because I have this one angled this way and this one angled this way. So this side is going to be the darker side. So this side of the watermelon and this side of the watermelon are going to be darker and these sides are going to be lighter. Okay, but let's get into colors. So I'm working in, oh, I didn't even go over supplies today. I'm working in my Bao 6x9 sketchbook. I'm using Core QOR by Golden watercolor paints. I'm using the mini palette. Just got it recently, like a month ago, and I'm loving it. I'm using round brushes, size 10. I have a size 4, Princeton Velvet Touch brushes, and then I also have my enameled Butcher Tray palette here, just for some extra mixing space. Okay, so let's get out our colors. I have this beautiful red color, which I don't even know what red I have in here. I haven't really used it yet. This is Pyrrol Red Medium. So this is a beautiful red. So I have Pyrrol Red Medium, and then in here I also have a magenta. If I needed a magenta, a cooler red. So let's take both of those out. We'll mix and match them a little bit. Then I also have a sap green, which I will use for my rind. If that green is too warm for you, it has too much yellow undertone, you can add just a little phthalo blue green shade, and that cools it down nicely. Just add a little bit of that. And then of course we'll use some Payne's Gray. So let's put those out here. We've got Payne's Gray on this side. Since I have all this weird space on the side, we'll swatch out some colors. We have our Pyrrol Red. Beautiful bright red color. We have some Quinacridone Magenta. And this was sap green and phthalo blue green shade mixed together for a lovely green. All right. So let's start with, we've already decided this side is going to be our darker side, but we're going to do this in layers. So I'm going to start with a magenta undertone. So I'm going to start on this side. And I want it to get light towards the bottom where the rind is going to be. So I started with the magenta and I'm adding the red on top. And I'm going to do at least one more layer of this. So you can see I only went so far down with the red. Let's do that same thing on this side. I'm going to go right over the seeds. They're going to be black or Payne's Gray. So you can see I started out with a much lighter magenta color, just adding water to the bottom to invite some of that color in. And then I added some red towards the top. And using wet on wet, kind of letting it blend towards the bottom. All right, so while that dries, and we'll probably do another layer. While that dries, let's work on our other piece. So again, I'm going to start with this magenta base. And this front side is going to be the darker side. Let it just kind of melt down towards the bottom. This I am going to just pull a little bit of the color out of the seeds. I don't mind it being a little pink or a little red underneath, but when we put the black in, we're going to leave some spots for highlights, so I don't want it to be dark, dark red on that side, or in the highlight. Now let's go to our lighter side over here. This tray, I gotta put something like underneath it so it doesn't rock and make all those clangy noises. So you're just paying attention to your values here. Trying to get the one side not, you know, you don't want to go as dark with your values. And you can reassess, like this is going to have to go, I'm going to do another layer over here to even this out a little bit. But you can see the one side is much darker in value. It's got a lot more saturation. Add a little bit more to the front side here. We haven't even gotten to our green yet. Which green and red are complementary colors, so they're really going to make each other pop quite a bit. All right, well, like I said before, I am just going to pull out a little of the darkest red color from the seeds. I can't even tell where the other one was. Down here. There's definitely a fourth one up here somewhere, which I've lost. So I'm just going to make it up. We'll put it right here. Again, it doesn't have to go back to white. I just want it to be a little bit lighter once we put in those dark seed colors. And I'm going to add one more layer to this side. And then we're going to get into our green. So delicious, juicy watermelon. I'm going to go back to my sap green color. It's going to be underneath. Line all the way across, because then, oops, and I let it get into there. That's okay, because the upper part of the rind that kind of goes into the fruit area is very white, but it definitely has hints of kind of green spilling up into it and the pink of the fruit coming down. So I'm just going to pull that off. And yes, you did just see me pick up a tiny bit of red, and I added it to this green under here just to give it a little bit of a muted tone. All right, so I'm just going to take my damp brush and just drag it through the white section. And we're going to give our green one more pass. And some of it is going to bleed. This is where a little water control and like knowing when things are dry enough. You might not want to let it get too out of control. So it's bleeding just a little bit. But if it was super, super wet, like I just dampened it a little bit, but if it was super wet, it would have been out of control. All right, so we have our 2 pieces of watermelon. This one, I wish this side was a little bit lighter, but there's not much to be done for it now other than making this much darker, which I don't really want to do. I'll try to pull out a little color, but I think it's just going to make it a little muddier. So I'm just going to leave it. Okay. We are going to put in our seeds. So I'm going to pick out some Payne's Gray. Nope, that's green. Payne's Gray. Here we go. Now this has to be dry, which it is here. So I'm going to put in our seeds. So dark at the bottom. I'm going to rinse my brush off. I'm going to leave a highlighted area. I've got funk down there. But I also want some areas to be slightly lighter and grayer. So the highlight can be really tiny. Like you see, I have a really tiny highlight in there. This is a little damp over here, but I think I'm going to be able to get away with it. I don't think there'll be any bleeding per se. And if you want to be really like attentive to these, you can actually go in with a really light wash of gray and then build up layers as you get towards the edges. Make it the darkest around the edges. I just pulled out a little color in this one just to kind of see, just so they don't seem as flat. So let's do that here. So I did that one in a very light gray. I'll let that dry. This one kind of just did that on its own naturally. So just coming in on the edges and darkening the edges just a little bit. In addition to the highlights. So there we go. There are little watermelon pieces. So this was fun. This side is bugging me so much and I want to try to fix it, but I know it's not going to go well. But you know what? Next time I paint a watermelon, you're going to watch me fix it or try to fix it. I really need paper towel, which I do not have other than this really gross, dirty one, which will not help the situation. Maybe this one little piece of like slightly less dirty section. Ugh. Okay, well, you live and you learn. So this got a little muddied here, but again, It's in our watercolor sketchbooks. That's how we learn. Now I know to pay really close attention to that when doing it, if I ever wanted to do this outside of my sketchbook. So thank you so much for joining me for our little mini summer fruit watermelon session here. I'm Shayna Cersei. Don't forget to like the channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out the description for links to supplies and materials, and also leave a comment and share with a friend who you might also think would enjoy our watercolor journey. Take care, y'all. Happy painting, and I'll see you for another watercolor journal page very soon.